In this video of BobCAM for SOLIDWORKS, we will be discussing the tool library, adding holders, arbors, and tools, the tool crib, and adding a tap. First, open up your SOLIDWORKS program. With your SOLIDWORKS program open up a new part. And then go into the BobCAM CAM tree. In the BobCAM CAM tree, expand the CAM part folder and right-click Milling Tools. In Milling Tools, we will be discussing the tools, tool crib, holders, and hole sizes in this video. First, click Tools. This will bring up the milling tool library. This is where tools are added in the software. First, we're going to add the holder. Right-click Milling Tools and click Holder. In this window, we will click Add Holder, and we're able to define the holder description. We'll call this a standard holder. Now, due to how resource intensive the simulation is in the software, it is recommended that you keep the holder to only necessary geometry. In this case, we'll have a height of 0.125 for the first cylinder with a diameter of 2 inches. We'll have 0 for top chamfer and 0 for bottom chamfer. Then we'll add a cylinder, and we'll have the cylinder height as 0.75 with an overall diameter of 3 inches. In this window, we're also able to move the cylinders up and down. As you can see over on the right side, the geometry refreshes accordingly. We're also able to add the cone if we need to reduce the size of the holder in order to create our holder. In this case, we won't have the cone, so we'll click Delete, and this gives us our holder. Once it's created, we'll click OK. In the BT40 window, we have the ability also to edit the holder. It is not necessary usually to have this geometry defined because it will become resource intensive on the computer, because it will check for extra collisions for these areas, which is why it's normally recommended to have the holder continue down and form a solid shape. We'll click OK again, and we'll go back into the standard holder. In this window, we'll click Add Arbor, and we'll call this a standard arbor. The same functionality is present in the Add an Arbor window as was in the Add a Holder window. In this case, we'll define our arbor. We'll say that the height is 1/2 inch and the diameter is 2 inches. We'll then add another additional cylinder, and we'll say the height of this cylinder is 0.75 with an overall diameter of 1.75. Once it is created, click OK, and this defines our arbor, and then click OK again. Go back into the BobCAM CAM tree and right-click Milling Tools, and then click Tools. In this case, we'll add an end mill rough, so select End Mill Rough. End mill rough is also the area that you'll be adding non-standard cutters. If you are, for instance, going to be using a T-slot cutter, you would add it under here. In this case, we'll be adding a 3-inch fly cutter, so we'll click Add, and we'll change the diameter to 3 inches. We'll change the flute length to 0.5, 0 corner radius with 6 flutes. Now the overall length is the overall length of the tool, and the protrusion length is how far the tool sticks out from the arbor. We'll change the overall length to 5 inches with a protrusion length of 4. The tool number can be modified at a later date. In this case, we'll just enter it as 5. And the tool label, this is where if you were to be using a T-slot cutter or another non-standard cutter, where you would describe the tool. In this case, we'll call it a 3-inch fly insert cutter, and we'll change the tool material to insert. Now, if for instance you have a tool that you are using that always needs to be set to a certain speed and feed, you are able to deselect the checkbox here and enter that custom feed and speed. In this case, we'll leave the checkbox selected, and lastly we'll assign the tool holder that we created in the prior step. Select standard holder and then standard arbor and click OK, and click OK again, and we've now created that tool. So we'll click OK, go into the BobCAM cam tree again, right click milling tools, and navigate to tool crib. When we select tool crib, we're able to add from the tool library that tool that we just created. So we'll add this tool. With this tool imported, we are then able to select it from the features that are created. We can add additional tools from the tool library. In this case, what we'll add is an 1/8" flat end mill, and then click OK. And we'll also add a 1/4" flat end mill. Now in this case, we want to modify the flute length to 1 inch long, so we can click Modify, and we'll modify the flute length to 1 inch long. This then modifies that tool, and we can then import it again into the tool crib. If we don't want to use automatic tool numbering, we can deselect the checkbox here, and it will pull in the numbers from the tool library. The tool crib allows you to save out these tools and import them as well. If I want to save them out and import them into a new drawing, I'd simply click Save, save the file out. With the file saved out, in the new drawing, I would click Import and import the tools. This allows you, if you're running the same tools over and over again, to bring those tools with their information defined into a new part. If we go back into the tool library, we can also import from a file. If, for instance, you are using a prior version of the BobCAM software, you are able to bring in the tools that were used in the prior software. We'll click OK. And in this case, since we don't need to use the 1/4" end mill, we'll click Delete and click Yes. With the tools defined, simply click OK. It is recommended when you are working with the software that first you go into the tool library and define some tools so that you know how the software works in this aspect. In the BobCAM cam tree again, we'll right-click Milling Tools and click Hole Sizes. This is where we are able to add a tap. If we need to add a tap for metric coarse, metric fine, UNC, etc., in this case we'll select UNC and we'll add a tap. The tap label allows you to define your tap. The nominal diameter and pitch are also entered here, and it also brings in information for your hole sizes for cutting, rolling, and STI. With all the information defined, simply click OK, and this will create your tap. With the tap defined, click OK again, and you've created the tap. This concludes this video.